Hey everybody, welcome to the Nation. That's BBQ Nation. I'm JT along with my new co-host LeeAnn Whippen and Camaro Dave and Commander Chris, coming to you from the satellite Turn It, Don't Burn It studios here in the Portland area. This is LeeAnn's first BBQ Nation, and it's really a pleasure and honor to have her as the co-pilot of this show. Today we're going to be talking with Thomas Walsh from Underwood Ranches down in Southern California. And we'd like to thank the folks at Painted Hills Natural Beef. Beef you can be proud to serve your family and friends. That's Painted Hills Natural Beef. Welcome, everybody.
Thank you.
Thank you. It's a pleasure to be here.
It's always nice to see you, LeeAnn, and Thomas. It's a pleasure to meet you. Truth be told, folks, we had a little technical glitch, little bit, when we were first started recording this show. So we're kind of doing a little bit of a makeover here, but that's okay. Thomas has got some really good information for us. So to kind of refresh here, Thomas, tell us the exactly what Underwood Ranches does and where they're located and things that you produce there.
So Underwood Ranches is a family-owned grower in Ventura County, California since 1867. Right now, we're currently fourth generation with our current owners, Craig Underwood. We've been farming many different crops over the years. Our biggest crop for the last 50 years has been jalapeno peppers. We grow both for the fresh market. We also grow to make mash for other sauce manufacturers. And then we've also integrated into trying our hand at making our own sauces. So that's kind of in a nutshell. We grow cannery tomatoes, we grow herbs, we grow onions, we grow carrots, a lot of different products for a lot of different processors. Total about 4,000 acres a year that we farm. And that's kind of where we're at this point.
And what do you do in the process?
So the one thing about working for Underwood Ranches is we get to wear many hats. So sales by trade, but I've also got involved in some operations, food safety, as that's become a big initiative in the fresh food industry. So I've learned how to do that. I've also R&D, developing recipes, developing mash, you name it, it's there.
Very good. And how did you get hooked up with LeeAnn?
So that's the best story. Is one night I was just kind of trial surfing, and it was actually interesting because back then when I first saw her, we were growing artichokes, and we did a lot of artichokes. And I was doing some channel surfing one night, and I come across a barbecue pitmaster show. And what caught my eye is I'm watching all these men out there barbecuing, and all of a sudden you get this lady out there by herself with all these men. And like I said, she's easy on the eyes. I'm like, I gotta watch this. This is pretty interesting. So she's out there handling her own. And so I'm like, this is really cool. So I've watched a few more episodes. And then the one episode that really caught my mind is when she actually had dumped her boyfriend, who was her helper. And I was like, you know what? I've got to reach out to this lady. We were getting into the artichoke bag business. And I was like, man, I really would like to do a recipe on the back of our bag for like a grilled style artichoke, and possibly she could help us. So I reached out, I Googled her, and she responded. And I think the only reason she responded is because we were an artichoke grower.
I love artichokes.
And
yes, so we've been working together for a while now, and it's been an awesome, partnership. The Underwood Ranches. Well, what I find is so interesting is your story, Tom, and how you got into this, which you might want to tell us a quick synopsis of that.
Yeah, so basically as a kid growing up in Orange County, I was fortunate enough to live where we actually had property. So I've kind of been in agriculture my whole life, as raising animals for 4-H. Always had a family that always was eager into growing your own gardens and things. So after graduating high school, my family had moved up from Orange County up to San Luis Obispo. I didn't really know what I wanted to do at that point yet. And I started working for a grocery store. And after a few years, I got promoted into produce. I was like, you know what, this is really, really cool. I really like the seasonalities. At that time, we didn't have year-round melons. So we would have, summertime melon tables, and then you'd have your wintertime squashes and your apples, things like that. So I was like, this is really cool. There was a school right down the road, Cal Poly San Luis Obispo, that has a very good ag department, ag program. So I said, you know what, I'm going into agriculture. And that's how it happened. And I chose produce as the concentration and graduated in 1998 and started working for Underwood Ranches in 1998.
Home of the Mustangs.
Home of the Mustangs, absolutely. There is another Cal Poly. Do you know anything about it?
Yeah, I drove by it one day years ago. Actually, I lived on that place for 2 years. So, yeah, they have a huge ag department there, but they also got a huge engineering department and science. So that's where we differentiate between you guys up there in the close to the San Joaquin Valley, and then us down there in the city. So there you go.
Yeah. I just thought it was a junior college, but I guess not.
No, we're the home of Jim Zorn, NFL quarterback. You guys can't say that, I don't think.
Well, we were home of Ozzie Smith, the shortstop of the St. Louis Cardinals.
Yeah, but that's baseball. So, yeah.
Baseball is still a sport.
Great sport.
Yeah, it's a good sport. Home of the Atlanta Braves. So
yeah, that was a great World Series.
That was a great World Series. So in your production, how do you choose what crops to put where? And as we were talking off the air before, you were talking about viruses in plants, and you can't put the same crop in a section. How do you choose those?
So it's all about the seasonality. So for example, chili peppers is definitely a summertime crop. But with all crops, you have to have rotation. You cannot plant chili peppers in the same field year after year after year without having rotation on the off seasons, simply because of the virus and things like that the chilies are very susceptible of. So basically, based on the seasonalities of the time of the year, those are the crops. But then we have our operations team that basically has this whole rotation program in place to where you're taking care of the ground and making the best decisions that you can do to produce the best crops.
Sure. And do you have to fight a lot of viruses and funguses and stuff? I mean, that is, especially on a commercial farm, that's got to be a major concern and a huge battle at times.
Yeah, no, for sure. I mean, it's the honest to God thing is once you put a seed in the ground, you're kind of crazy to do this, but it's what we do. Yes, you're going to deal with weather, you're going to deal with pests, you're going to deal with virus, you're going to deal with fungus, molds, things like that. But you just have to, deal with that and make the best decisions based on varieties and where you're planting and go with that. But definitely a lot of hurdles.
So and the other thing we were talking about prior to the show was you have, when you go into a grocery store, LeeAnn lives in Florida, I live in Oregon, you live in California, okay? And they keep fresh green jalapeños, for an example, all year long up there. But you're not harvesting them all year long, are you?
No. So we only grow in our season. So our season basically will start in July, and then we'll run through, we've got about another week or two left in our season, only because our season we grow greens and reds. So basically in all of our plantings, they're all staggered so we can extend our season. But you go in and you'll harvest greens, probably about 2 picks per each plant, and then you'll leave those plants for reds, and you'll move through the season that way.
So what's the difference for people that don't know that between the greens and the reds?
Just maturity, basically. On the reds. The main reason we do the reds is for the sauces that we manufacture. You get a maturity, and the color and the flavor is a little bit sweeter.
You want me to tell you a story about jalapenos real quick?
Would love to hear the story.
Of course.
Okay, doing a live show for the ABC affiliate here in Portland, and I usually put excuse me, some sort of pepper in my work, whatever dish I'm doing. And we were doing Super Bowl stuff. So I was doing poppers, right? Bacon wrap poppers, all this. We made them, and LeeAnn knows this. You're not on set when you make this stuff. You're making it outside.
Right.
Bring it in. And I ate one outside, and I thought it was really mild. and I work with this very lovely lady here in Portland named Helen Raptis. We've been doing the same show together for 20 years. And Helen has got a big case of what I call lily lips. Okay. And so I make these poppers and it looks great and the hero shot's great. And she goes, "These aren't hot, are they?" And I said, "Well, they're jalapenos, but they're not that hot. These are actually pretty mild." She got one that evidently sent her off the Richter scale, let alone the Scoville scale. She actually started choking and gagging.
Oh, no.
And this is all live, mind you. And she hit the floor. And I'm just running around behind the island there, trying to find her a bottle of water or something. And all you see is this hand going out from behind the island going, "Take us to break, take us to break, take us to break." And so she's never let me forget whatever the proper grammar is on that. And she always says I damn near killed her. So I don't think I really tried to kill her. It was just
I hope not. Well, that brings me to the question of, going to the grocery store. I find that I just don't get hot jalapenos anymore. And I guess there's no way to really, Tom, to look at a jalapeno and tell if it's going to be spicy or mild. I mean, from your perspective, when you grow them, are you trying to achieve the hottest pepper you can?
Typically, yes. I mean, on a jalapeno, you want the spiciest you can get, but there are other reasons so for example, we do a no heat jalapeno for a processor that manufactures soups and things like that. That's a really good pepper. It has no heat, but you can manipulate with the varieties. You can achieve those things. So you can achieve a very spicy jalapeno. You can achieve a mild jalapeno. You can achieve a jalapeno with absolutely no heat. It's all through variety trials.
Well, it seems like commodity is very inconsistent these days. I'm not blaming you, by the way.
You know what? What it is, it's all about yield. So if you have a farmer that has a certain area that he's got to grow a maximum yield, and he gets a pepper variety that'll achieve that yield, that's what he's going to grow. And it may not have any heat, but he's going to get the tonnage.
Do you cross-pollinate them? Do you what's the word I'm looking for?
Crossbreed. You're trying to make two peppers into one or something, like dogs. Those what they do with dogs.
Yeah, I'm actually thinking about trees where they graft on a limb, and then all of a sudden you've got an apple tree that's a cross between a Fuji and a Gravenstein. But I'll take the dog thing under consideration there, LeeAnn.
But yeah, that's a good comparison. But with chili peppers, I mean, obviously with us, because we've been doing it for so long, we have many different seed companies that we work with, and they're always trialing new varieties, trying to come up with the newest innovative things. I mean, think about the produce world. I mean, what else? It's not like we're making cars here where you can, you've got to just try to become, something that's new. And we're always, yield is the biggest factor, obviously. And then what do you want to achieve there is the heat levels but yield.
So you're saying your red jalapenos that you grow, they're green and then they turn red.
Yes, and that's the trick, is that we've developed a variety of a green that's hot, and it'll stay hot when it turns red. And basically a red pepper is just a mature green jalapeno.
Isn't that something? I always thought it was two different varieties.
Well, there's a red Fresno pepper out there. A lot of people say, "Oh, that's a red jalapeno." It's not even close. Not even close.
Do you put on your mad scientist hat there at Underwood and sneak off to the back greenhouse and try to cross-pollinate and graft things like that in hopes that someday you will create a new variety?
We don't do that personally, but like we have our ops team that work with these seed companies, and that's what they're trying to achieve is a better, because for example, let's say you develop a really good variety that grows very well in Ventura County. Well, it doesn't mean that variety is going to grow very well up the road where we also grow up in Kern County. So those are the challenges. It's just based upon the areas that you're growing in, and every season is different. So it's always trying to be ahead of it and be resistant, develop varieties too that are resistant to certain viruses and pests and things like that.
Merle Haggard wrote a song about Kern County. Just throw that out there for you.
Can you sing it?
No. But I'm familiar with Kern County. because there used to be, I think there still are Kern products in stores, juices and stuff. So anyway, I digress here. We are going to take a break and be back with Thomas Underwood Thomas Walsh, from Underwood Ranches. We're going to talk more about hot sauces. We're going to talk about creating those and what they look for when they're developing them. Right after this, you're listening to BBQ Nation with JT and LeeAnn. We'll be right back. I'm not gonna shut this down. I'm just gonna let it run, and David's gonna have to deal with it.
Okay.
The luck I've had today with this stuff, I'm not doing
It's very
that.
frustrating. Yeah, and you aren't hearing me through the mic, are you?
Yeah.
Oh, you
hear
are?
you.
Okay,
Yeah,
cool.
yeah,
All right.
Yeah. I think I'm hearing you through my headphones, which means,
Okay, good. I'm glad. Okay.
yeah. All right, here we go. Welcome back to BBQ Nation. You can email us at the Nation. You can just go to bbqnationjt.com, and at the bottom there's a little icon there to send us a message. And if I get my actual email back, because I've had so many computer and sound problems today, that will get to either me or LeeAnn eventually, I promise. We're going to do that. You can also find us on Facebook and Twitter. LeeAnn's got her stuff out there on Instagram and Twitter and YouTube and all that. And I've got a few things you might say out there. So you can find us and send us a note. Let us know what you're doing. We're talking with Thomas Walsh, as we call him, Tom, here in the business from Underwood Ranches. By the way, I want you to know I saved the box.
It's awesome packaging, and I love their logo.
Yeah, it's very cool. Very cool. Thank you for sending that to me. I know LeeAnn probably prompted you to do that. In fact, I know she did, but I really appreciate it. And
do what she tells me to do.
You're a smart man.
Yes.
When you're developing a sauce, what's the process for you guys? Because you got a ton of them now, and I'm sure you're still working on more. But what is the process that you go through?
Well, the biggest process is the pepper, and that's what we grow. And that's kind of why we decided to get into this business. It's like I've said before, that this business is changing. The dynamics of the business are changing with all the consolidation of retailers and the rising wages in California and all the imports coming in from other countries. So the basic was, how else can we take the peppers that we feel that we've perfected, and what else can we do with them? One thing is, like I said, we do make mash for other sauce manufacturers. Basically what mash is ground up chilies with some vinegar and salt, and then basically we just put into barrels and we send it to the customers. And then we decided, well, what about trying our hand in sauce as well? So basically, like I said, the main ingredient is the peppers that we grow. All the sauces that we make basically are going to highlight that pepper. And so we're not one of these other manufacturers that basically manufacture a sauce where it's basically vinegar and pepper powder. So that the main ingredient is the pepper we grow. First sauce we came up with was a sriracha. Basically, it's very simple. We don't use any artificial preservatives. We use a fresh garlic. We feel it's pretty good. It's pretty good.
I think it's the best sriracha out there. I'm not just saying that. It really is. It's phenomenal. It's great.
I thought it was pretty good.
Mm-hmm.
Like that. It's got to be tough. When you're developing these, though, Thomas, are you considering the pairing, as it were? I mean, take LeeAnn's artichokes, because she loves artichokes. Okay. And if you're going to do a sauce, do you coordinate with her? I know you said you had her help you with a recipe, but would you consult with her and say, we're trying to develop this, and here's a great sauce for artichokes? Example only.
Well, what he did do actually is, when you were coming up with the barbecue sauces, he would ship me them, with his basic recipe, and then I would taste it and make suggestions on what I personally like, and then he'd tweak it and send it back again. So we did a lot of that.
And I think the key is with the barbecue sauces that we make, and this is the point. I mean, a lot of people think, you're crazy to get in the barbecue sauce business. There's so many different sauces on the market, which, yes, there is. But for us, it's unique is our barbecue sauce does not have any kind of tomato paste or ketchup. It's simply a red jalapeno. And so when we first started developing it, that's why I said, you know what, we got to send this to LeeAnn and let her see what she thinks about it. Because a lot of people, even today, they'll taste like, oh, it's very tomatoey. Well, there's no tomato product in that. It's simply a red jalapeno barbecue sauce. And we have the two varieties. We have the one that's a spicy, and then we have the mild, which is a jalapeno that has no heat.
I love your Carolina, the gold, the mustard. That might be my favorite of the line, but your Verde sauce too is top notch. I mean, you've really expanded the line in a short amount of time, and each one is so significantly different in flavor, but you get the freshness of the peppers. And yeah, when you told me there was no tomatoes in the barbecue sauce, I was like, are you kidding? I mean, it's just shocking to me that you're able to make it taste like barbecue sauce.
Yeah, and that's what was amazing is it worked. So when we first tried it and it worked, it's like, wow.
So do you get to take home all the samples, Tom?
Basically, all the samples when we first started doing all the bench sampling was done in my kitchen. And then we would make the batches. And then obviously when you make them, then you would send them to the lab to make sure that they're safe, you know, with your, you know, all the content it needs to be with the guidelines. And then from there, you say, okay, yes, this product works. And then you say, okay, now we got to send it out to someone like LeeAnn to kind of get the input and insight, like, yes, this is good, or no, it's not good. Like, for example, I'll never forget the first time I sent LeeAnn our spicy version. She flat out told me, she said, listen, you need to cut the black pepper in half. And most people are like, there's no black pepper. I said, yes, there is. They're like, how did she know? I'm like, because this is what she does. This is why we sent it to her.
Yeah, it's kind of funny, you know, being in this position for a number of years now, I get lots of samples. People always, and I'm very grateful to them to send me, you know, their rubs, their sauces, whatever. Every once in a while you get something you can actually drink, you know, that comes in the mail, so to speak. But if I was going to say one thing, and I think LeeAnn just hit on it, is that out of all the different sauces, there are some that are very outstanding that are kind of at the top, some that aren't very good, but they're trying hard. But there's a big group in the middle, especially on sauces that have a little heat in them, that they're either way too much on ghost pepper or whatever they're using, or black pepper, like that. It's such a dominating flavor when you're creating a sauce. It really will overwhelm the food. And I think if you talk to a lot of people, it doesn't matter whether it's barbecue or anything, they really want to taste whatever it is they're eating and not just be totally overpowered by the sauce.
Absolutely.
Yeah, I agree with that too. I mean, as far as me, I mean, like
But
I said,
you have a new hot sauce out.
yeah, we do. And that's one that we're really excited about because it's very, very simple. We decided to name it 1867, our founding year. It's just it's kind of what, for me, it just kind of reminds me of Underwood. We're just a very simple, honest family grower that and this pepper basically has our red jalapenos, vinegar, and some salt, and that's it. And it's very, very good. It goes on everything. I love it. And it's our new 1867. It's very good.
You're gonna have to send me another sample box because
Yeah.
you're talking about some things that I never got to taste. So we're gonna
No, for sure. We definitely need to do that. It's like I said, it's a very simple sauce. It's similar to like a Louisiana style, but it's made with a red jalapeno and not a cayenne.
Yeah.
But it's very simple, limited ingredients, you know, and all of our sauces, that's the key too, is that we want to do is there's no artificial preservatives. We're not using any sulfites.
No corn syrup, right?
No.
Okay. There you go.
Exactly.
Well, that's a good thing because LeeAnn and I talked about this, and if we weren't recording right now, I would tell you that there was a new barbecue sauce launched, but I'm not going to tell you the name, earlier this year. And I got hit up by a lot of their press people to bring them on the show. And then I said, well, yeah. And they wanted me to talk to their chief marketing officer. Okay. But then I said, I want to talk to whoever developed this. I just want to know their process. I don't want any trade secrets. That's not why we're here, but I want to know your process. anyway, they sent me back and they said, well, I'm sorry, those questions, we can't supply that information to you right now. And thank you for the opportunity. And that was the end of it. All right. Well, they came to me. I didn't go to them. So I was talking to a friend and I said, hey, this company's doing this. He goes, yeah, we bought some of that stuff. I said, yeah. He said, tastes like they just dumped some of their sauce into a barrel of Sweet Baby Ray's and bottled it. And I said, there you go. That was the answer that I thought. So there wasn't probably too much R&D in that. But I'm always grateful for companies like yours, Tom, when they do the research and do the development and do the actual process, because then they've got their heart and soul in it.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, no, there's been a lot of heart and soul into this. It's been there's a lot involved, and it's a slow process too. That's the other thing that's a little frustrating, is once you make your bench samples and then you have to go to the labs and you have to wait for the approvals, and then you go get your testers and you get someone like LeeAnn saying you need to cut this by this, and then you go back to the drawing board and you do that. And then I think every single person in my neighborhood has tried every single one of our sauces along the way as well, just to get that input. Even if it's not, a chef or anything, it's still, people that are going to consume these products.
It's the consumer. Yeah.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
It's definitely it's a process, and it takes a long time. It's not, and then you have your artwork for your labels, and then your nutritional information, and it's a process. And I got to be part of all of that. And that's why our little tagline on that box says "Seed the Sauce." I mean, we're as farm to table as you can be on a pepper product for sauces.
Absolutely. We're going to take a break here on BBQ Nation. We're going to be back with Tom Walsh from Underwood Ranches, my new co-pilot LeeAnn Whippen, and yours truly right after this. Don't go away. Okay, coming back here. Welcome back to BBQ Nation here on the Sun Radio Networks. I'm JT along with LeeAnn Whippen. You're going to get to hear a lot of LeeAnn over the next few days, weeks, months, and years from here. And we're talking with Tom Walsh from Underwood Ranches. Also like to again thank the folks at Painted Hills Natural Beef. Beef you can be proud to serve your family and friends, and it's just like nature intended. And Gunter Wilhelm Knives, great quality knives, great efficiency and economy in the kitchen. You can check them out online at gunterwilhelm.com. So out of all the stuff you do, Tom, what's your favorite thing?
Eating. Really good at that, but
Cal Poly boys, man. Yeah,
exactly. No, honestly, the produce world it's pretty cool. Like I said, I think anyone who puts a seed in the ground is a maniac, but we do it, and it's a lot of prayers, but just the food business in general, I love just the dynamics of it and how we can change things. And then when getting into the sauces, it's pretty interesting. I've learned so much on the food science side of things, and working with consultants and labs and things like that, of how you can actually make a product. As a chef, they can make products taste great today and tomorrow, but to make something that lasts 12 months or longer with no refrigeration, that's a chore, and make it taste good.
Yeah.
It's a totally different ballgame. And that's what we've come up with, is shelf stable products that are safe, and they don't need refrigeration. I think they're better refrigerated. However, it's up to you, but it's a pretty interesting what you can do.
I think one of the hardest things is once you've gone through this grueling process and you actually have it all ready, the bottle, and it's ready to go, is how do you get it out there? And I think that's the biggest challenge is the marketing, aspect of it. Are you in stores right now? Which stores are you in?
Yeah, you're right about that. That is absolutely the hardest part. And let's be honest, we rolled this out right when COVID hit. So this was just, Underwood Ranches, again, like I said, we've been around since 1867, but we've just been a farmer flying under the radar. And now the chore is to build a brand. Well, once COVID hit, the only thing people were buying was toilet paper and water, and they weren't looking for new products. They were looking for what we normally buy. So that is a huge challenge. So we've got a small little chain store out in Texas called Central Markets that has our products. We've got up in Northern California called Save Mart has our products. And then we've got some local independents around. We're trying to build a presence online through our website. And then working with LeeAnn to try to get the barbecue world. But yeah, it's a huge challenge. There's no doubt about it. I mean, there's a lot to be done on the marketing side of this.
Mm-hmm.
It's very tough to compete with the big boys. I was in the spice business, if you will, 20 years ago, really before everything kind of went crazy. You had a few independents like myself, and then you had McCormick and then you had Schilling, and you had a few things from Kraft and what have you out there. Yeah, but you really didn't have they didn't even allow the shelf space for it unless you wanted to buy it. But it is so tough to get a product in a big store or in a chain of stores and to keep it there, because they really put the screws to, especially the independent people that are coming in. They're going to want free cases, and they're going to want you to contractually buy advertising in, whether it's on their website or flyers or whatever they're using. I mean, I've been that road. That's why I don't do it anymore, because one guy sitting in a little community called Viola, Oregon, I couldn't sell enough to pay for everything. I couldn't sell enough to give Kroger 47 free cases. And if they didn't sell in 60 days, they wanted to send back what didn't and credit that against what they owed me. So that's just one example. It's very difficult.
It's very difficult. And that's why, you have to be innovative in this. And again, having the connection with LeeAnn, and when I went out to finally go meet her in Tampa, went to the restaurant she had at the time, and the food was amazing. But then I just noticed something was totally different about the French fries. And it's like, I couldn't put my finger on what was different about it, but there was like a little sweetness to it. So then she came and sat down with us and then started explaining to us the seasoning that she puts on her French fries was her pig powder. I was like, wow, that was amazing stuff. So ever since then, I'd bought it and I'd use it at home and stuff. And then once we developed our Carolina Gold mustard-based barbecue sauce, which is also infused with our red peppers, which makes it very different. I always watch these competitions where everybody's using a binder on their pork, a mustard binder. I'm thinking, well, why can't we try the Carolina Gold as our binder? So then I reached out to LeeAnn. I'm like, LeeAnn, you know how they do that 3-2-1? I'm like, well, why can't we do like a 1-2-3 where they use our Carolina Gold as their binder, the pig powder as their rub, and then they can finish it with either our spicy or our mild barbecue sauce. So these are the ideas and the innovation that we're trying to get people to catch on to, because it is a really good combo. I mean, just last week I did a pork roast where I used the 1-2-3 on that, and then I pulled the pork, and then I actually made pizza where I used the Carolina Gold as my sauce. I put down, the mozzarella cheese. I put the pulled pork, and then I put pineapple, and then topped it off a little bit more pig powder and barbecued that pizza. It was amazing. So it's got to be innovative in it, because you're right. It's really hard to go against the big boys.
You just got to remember what George Carlin said. You nail two things together that have never been nailed together before, and somebody will buy it. So you got to have that mentality to try that, to be successful in this world. Do you think going out and winning, LeeAnn, big competitions with like what Tom suggested there, using the Carolina and your pig powder and stuff, how does that really boost a product, or is it give it just a foundation to get going?
I think it's a foundation. I couldn't give you an exact figure. I know that the pig powder that my dad developed many years ago, he would just go to barbecue contests and hand it out, and people were using it, and then they were winning with it. And that's how it got to be very popular. And, it's good to enter some of these contests, because it did win Best Rub on the Planet, which is a significant award. And I know the guys on the circuit, they watch all this stuff. If that makes it a brand for the, regular consumer, I think it helps, but I really couldn't say how much it does help. I mean, obviously Blues Hog, that started out, on the circuit, and now it's widely commercialized, and they knocked it out of the park. So I do feel like it's a stepping stone to greatness.
Well, and the other thing is the products have to be good.
Hmm.
I mean, you're talking about, your pig patter, blues hog, some of the other rubs and sauces. They really have to be good because let's say you don't know too much about barbecue and you walk into pick a store that now their barbecue aisle has 20 feet at
Yeah,
least
it's massive.
and 4 shelves versus what it was, even 10 years ago. But most all the sauces look either brown or ketchupy, like you were saying. So if you don't know what they are and you don't have a lot of experience with it, how do you make those decisions?
Well, and it used to be a big thing where you could, put award winning. Well, that's so passe. Everybody can write award winning in some way, shape, or form. It's
Sure.
not a distinctive. I don't know. People aren't going to buy it because they see award winning. I do feel that packaging, again, it's part of marketing. There's a lot of I don't know, experts out there that know what attracts the buyer, whether it be a color, like red and yellow is known to be in the food,
Mhm.
it's just certain things draw your eye. And the consumer that doesn't know about the awards and barbecue or whatever, they're going to be drawn, I think, to the overall look of it and the label.
Yeah, I mean, packaging is everything. That's why Tom, your box here
It's
is
great.
really attractive. Looks like a really nice gift box. It looks like, I mean, I got to tell you, this would be a box if you were in gift stores, for example. And this is just my idea, but I've been through this. Like I said, this is something that Uncle Bill or Dad is really into barbecue and he's really into sauces or he's really into cooking pulled pork or whatever. And they open it up and it's got a really nice look to it. And it's a very attractive exterior. That's a win right there. That's a real win. Instead of people out there trying to buy something in a gift store or a barbecue store and it's just a one-off bottle, maybe the
Right.
greatest sauce in the world, but what are you going to do? Put it in a real sock and hang it on the mantelpiece? I don't know. It worked.
I think too, one of the things that I'm trying to establish here too is if anything that we've learned as a nation from COVID is that it's not a bad idea to have a lot of your ingredients or your products that you like to buy locally, or at least within the country. And all of our products are made with the peppers that we grow in the United States. I know other sauce manufacturers right now, they're having a heck of a time trying to get their pepper mash that they have manufactured in South America, just because the costs of the containers and the logistics and the boats and the trucks and everything that you're hearing about these days. So that's one thing we're just trying to point out to people too, is it's a product of USA. It's grown by a family farm. If you can appreciate that, I mean, that's kind of where we're at too.
I think that's super important today. And I do think that people do look at that.
I think it's great. Some of the stuff we've been through the last few years, I think there's a real kind of, well, we have a group of stores up here called Made in Oregon, and they'll only carry stuff that's actually produced or made in Oregon. And my stuff was in there for a while, but the point is, I think people are very in tune to that. We are going to take another break. We're going to be back with Tom Walsh from Underwood Ranches and my new co-pilot, LeeAnn Whippen, right after this. Don't go away. Welcome back to BBQ Nation here on the BBQ Nation Radio Network. We got stations and we got networks and we got stuff, and I don't even know where the hell they all are anymore. Anyway, we're talking with Thomas Walsh from Underwood Ranches in California. And my co-host now, officially, you'll get the press releases out here in a couple of weeks, is LeeAnn Whippen. Again, welcome.
Thank you.
In the co-pilot's chairs there.
Mm-hmm.
The climate for ag biz in California, and I'm not talking about the weather, is tough. I mean, you guys make the news all the time for the speckled blue nose gully washing trout or something, a bunch of smolts up going into the Sacramento River. And granted, they're important, but if you don't have enough water and stuff to feed people, it's pretty much a moot conversation. How tough is that for you in California, Tom?
Well, it's a constant struggle. I mean, it's with regulations and everything. I mean, it's like I said, that's kind of what we've looking at. Okay, so we're a farmer, yeah. So how do we also, integrate into other products? And that's what brings our sauce line into this is, yeah, there's, if you're selling on the commodity market and you're hoping to hit a good market, well, not too many good markets lately. So it's a tough challenge. So yeah, you've got to think of other ways. You got to either mechanize on your labor or integrate into value added products, or come up with a sauce line or something like that to try to differentiate yourselves and kind of get immune from all the changes, because there's not going to stop. It's just going to keep coming.
Do you guys ship? Oh, go ahead, LeeAnn. I'm sorry.
I'm interested in, whether you're at the mercy of Mother Nature, it seems. And now you've got climate change to deal with. And it seems in California that you're getting hit with an awful lot of fires. Have those fires been close to where your crops are? Or, has that been something you've been worried about?
They haven't lately, but about 4 years ago, they were always right around all of our crops. In Ventura County, seemed like it was always on fire. But now we've been pretty fortunate that most of the fires are up in Northern California and which is still not good, but hasn't been around where we're at.
I see.
That's good. Well, we've gotten enough rain up here in the Northwest now that there was a little tiny article on one of the news sites the other day. It said the Oregon Department of Forestry said fire season's over. And that's all they said. They just kind of put it out there, and if you caught it, you caught it. So what about like trucking and stuff? I mean, we have a supply chains issues now, according to everybody and their mother. But do you guys truck your own products? Are you able to handle that? I know in the state of California, they've got some new regulations that are driving some transportation companies to drink really bad beer because they're really tough. And they're even talking about the age of the vehicles and stuff now. All of that stuff has got to affect you.
Oh, big time. It was getting interesting too when that whole regulation on diesel engines came out. I mean, you could look at Craigslist, you wouldn't believe the amount of trucks for sale, whether they were FedEx trucks, Amazon truck, whatever they were, people trying to get rid of these trucks because no longer could you couldn't get registration for them in the state of California. So yeah, it's been tough. And not to mention, I mean, just think of the gas prices in the state alone compared to other states. It's a lot. And we do have our own trucks that, where we bring the products from the fields to the facility that we have. Yeah, of course, it's definitely a challenge for sure.
Are you thinking about integrating? I'm jumping around here a little bit because we're getting down close to the end of the show, but are you thinking about, one of the crops you grow is watermelons. Are you going to make a watermelon sauce? It'd be kind of kick if you did, I would think.
That's a great question. And I'll tell you why, because as a foodie, I make a killer watermelon salsa, which goes great on pulled pork tacos. And I've been making it for a while now, and it's amazing. But again, you get to that problem. You would love to take this to market, but how do you make it last? I mean, especially with watermelon, it's like all water. So as soon as you cut the melon, it starts purging. You get a lot of the water coming out of it.
Sure.
But it is a great, great product. So I definitely would be open and maybe even work with LeeAnn or something like that, because yes, watermelon is amazing. The watermelon salsa, I gotta have LeeAnn make it because it is killer. And you put that on pork, it blows you away, because sometimes people will be eating the watermelon salsa, they don't even know what they're eating. It is so good.
There's got to be a way, all of these smart people that work on food products, there's got to be a way to be able to keep the integrity, the shape, and the moisture, whatever else they have. There's got to be a way, but maybe it isn't that easy, because that sounds amazing and it would be out there, not yours, but a watermelon salsa. I think, peaches, I think, are easier to work with, but I love that idea. See, that's what you need. Watermelon.
Well, the best thing
salsa.
is too is you can put like some spicy peppers in there, and like the name is just called Fire and Ice. It's just killer.
Mhm.
And it's just a matter though of getting that longevity. And I've actually played around with it with some natural preservative type things, but it's still, you get that purge, and with that purge is you get the breakdown. So it, for now, I'm gonna love it as my own little deal at home. But I promise you that is something that could set
Yeah.
things off. And
Mhm.
it's really good. It's really good.
Well, now you've got me curious about it, actually, to want to try it. So I don't
It's
know what
really good.
the shelf life is, but I'm just north of you about 800 miles. So, just fire some up here anytime you want there, Tom.
Yeah.
It's all good. How can people find out more information about your products, and how can they order them, and how they can, send you comments or questions, anything like that?
So basically come to our website at underwoodranches.com, and we actually set up a coupon code. You can use the coupon code BBQ Nation and get 15% off any purchases on our website.
Oh, there you go.
And we have a lot of information there. You can email me from there. I love to talk to people all day long. I get people that call me asking about chili peppers. I could talk about it all day. We love to talk to people and get ideas and suggestions. So yeah, come to our website, underwoodranches.com, use BBQ Nation as your code, and get 15% off any of your purchases. And like I said, drop us a line anytime you want. We'd love to talk.
See, that's a good Christmas idea too, right there. We got
Especially
the
the gift pack. And you know what, the box itself, it's not one of those cheap boxes. That's a sturdy box. It's just well packaged too.
It is, because it survived around here for almost 2 months now before we could get everything settled down and get you on the show and get Tom on the show. But it's really good. And thank you for putting that out there for our listeners. I know they'll appreciate that, especially with LeeAnn's recommendation on it.
It really is great.
It is great stuff. We're going to get out of here. Tom's going to stick around for after hours. That's where we talk about anything we want, and we're not under any FCC rules. So that's kind of a good thing too. But Thomas Walsh from Underwood Ranches, thank you. I don't know who we've got coming up in the next hour. Maybe LeeAnn, one of the shows she did with me. I don't know who that is. And we'll be back next week with another edition of BBQ Nation with JT and LeeAnn now on the Sun Radio networks. Thanks for listening, everybody.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Okay, we'll just go right into after hours. And if we run out of time, we run out of time. Hey, everybody, welcome to After Hours here on the BBQ Nation. Actually, email, websites, internet, all that. You can't really hear this stuff over the air. I'm JT, along with my new co-host, LeeAnn Whippen, and we've got Tom Walsh with us from Underwood Ranches today. We apologized if there's any sound issues, because that was pretty much my fault for using the wrong program this morning. So we'll leave it at that. I threw myself on the spear and go from there. Tom, what's the biggest pain in the butt doing what you do now?
You know what?
I'm not talking about LeeAnn.
I was going to say, you set him up for that.
You know what? Honestly, I wouldn't even say it's more a pain in the butt. It's just something different. So when you've been in the produce business, you're dealing with a product that has to move. So things happen fast. You call a buyer, PO's given, you send the product, you're just moving truckloads. But now when you're in this type of business with manufacturing of sauce and mash, it's just so slow. The process is so slow of developing the product, of getting, talking to a retailer about the product. Normally I'd call a retailer, be like, hey, I got 5 loads of cantaloupe that need to go. Oh, what's your price? Boom, we move it, the product's gone. With this, it's like, okay, now let's talk marketing. Let's talk marketing dollars. Let's talk the strategy. It is just a lot involved. So I don't say it's a pain in the butt, but it's definitely something different that I've ever dealt with, and I'm not used to, but we're doing it.
Yeah. What does your wife think of all this?
She does pretty good. She does pretty good. So she probably thinks I'm crazy because more than anything, I've always been a pepper fan my whole life. I love peppers. I mean, as a kid, I used to love to say bad words, so your mom would put Tabasco in your mouth. So that's just how it works. And I've always been a pepper guy. So I think the collection of hot sauces that I've accumulated over the last 20 years of being with her, I think she's probably just burned out on that. But I have bottles of sauces that I haven't even opened. I probably never will open, but it's just a passion of mine. So, you know, I just believe in things that are meant to happen. So when this whole opportunity came with the Underwood about the sauce and that, is like, wow, this could really happen. And, but, you know, it's not easy. It's not easy at all. There's a lot of luck that needs to happen. So, you know, that's why I think that for us, you know, I think the story that we have is pretty good. Been in business since 1867, family owned, only peppers of USA. Barbecue sauces that have no tomatoes, simply red jalapenos. I think there's some uniqueness there, and that's what we're riding on.
It's a tough gig. I can tell you that. It's a tough gig. My background in the ag world, and I deal with a lot of the cattle people, as you heard from the show, the Painted Hills folks. Been associated with them for going on 20 years now, and they're really good people. But man, it's either like really good or they're treading water type thing. It fluctuates so much, so you got to get while the getting's good, because you know the circle's going to come back around. Is that how it is in like produce markets and stuff too, or are you more of a constant?
Oh no, it's exactly like that. It's brutal. I mean, let's say, for example, right now, like today, so chili peppers typically in the winter months right now, they're all coming out of Mexico. You're probably between 40 to 60 cents a pound. Right now, the market on jalapenos is about $1.65 a pound. It's insane. And a lot of it has to do with trucking, but most of it has to do with the hurricanes that hit Michoacan and Jalisco, the states of Mexico, where now the pepper production is way down. It's also affected, there's weather, it's affected like Sinaloa. So yeah, right now the getting's good for them, but it's also the reason why it's getting good now is because their yield is going to be way less. So is it going to balance out at the end? I don't know, but it's a lot. I mean, it's like I said, to be able to put a plant or a seed in the ground, you're crazy, but we do it.
Yeah.
I mean, you're relying on a lot of things that you can't control.
Here's kind of this doesn't have anything to do with Underwood Ranches. This just has to do with Tom. Years and years ago, I was doing a different show, different topic. And I had an environmentalist guy that would come on. They didn't call it climate change back then. But he was always kind of very pro rancher and farmer type thing. And the battles were then, back in the late 80s and 90s, the battles were over water. Whoever controls the water really controls everything as far as food sources. And I said to him, the biggest problem we're going to have someday is I put on my Nostradamus hat back then, and I said, we'll run out of food versus the population, because the encroachment of regulations and stuff will make it very tough at times to get food to certain areas of the country and things. I had no idea that we're going through, 20 odd years ago, what we're going through today. And what do you see, both positive and negative, going forward in the you're in the crop business. What do you see there?
Well, I mean, the first thing is interesting is, when you talk about environmental and environmentalists and global change, I think the farmers are the ones that are the original environmentalists. I mean, if we don't take care of the ground, we're not going to have means of production. So it's in our best interest to take care of the ground the best that we can. A lot of times people talk about, the organics and the people, and there's no spraying or they're spraying. And, as a farmer, you don't want to spray if you don't have to. That's just more costs. But, there's challenges like all the time. And I think now the innovation is for people to be able to come up with mechanical harvesting. I think that's the race. I mean, we've been able to achieve it with peppers. And obviously when we're doing processing peppers, we can mechanically harvest, which it's huge. So, I mean, I know that our operations manager, he's been working with, there's a team at Cal Poly San Luis Obispo that's working on a robot to harvest strawberries. And I think it's doable. And I think that the people that come up with it first it's going to set this thing. Because you're also taking out, when you have it, if you can do it mechanically, you're kind of also taking out that human element of the food safety.
Mm-hmm.
Your robot doesn't have to wash his hands. He doesn't have to use the restroom.
Depends on what Cal Poly comes up with on that part, but we'll see.
But it's going to be interesting. Like I said, I mean, I think the mechanical harvesting, and that's the key right now.
Yeah, it is. It's all about time, and those machines will eventually be very expensive, but then you've got to balance that between the actual human labor costs. There's other factors that go along with that. Like you said, the machines don't take breaks unless the operator does. And they don't get sick. They break down, but you can fix them in a couple hours usually, but that and continue on. So I'm just curious and actually somebody that's involved with it at your level to get your thoughts on that. Because one thing that we've seen, especially in the last year and a half, and I don't know how it is in Florida, LeeAnn, but we've actually seen stuff where you go into the store. Part of it was kind of fear mongering on the part of the media, which I'm part of, and now you're part of, and all that. But it's the first time in my life I'd ever seen like an entire meat counter empty. First time in my life I'd ever seen holes, if you will, at the local Safeway in their produce department. And it's a huge produce department. But all of a sudden there wouldn't be any radishes for a week, or there wouldn't be any cauliflower for a week, or, just odd things like that. That's something our generation never thought of. I think our parents' generation, especially if they lived through the Depression and stuff, maybe they saw things like that, and through the war, because there was rationing. But our group isn't used to that, and I don't think that made a lot of people very happy. Anybody want to jump in there, or just?
I agree with that. One thing, when I first started in the grocery store, it was the good, like, I would like to see at some point the produce come back to the seasonalities. I mean, who wants to eat watermelon and cantaloupe in the winter when it doesn't taste good?
Yeah.
I mean, if you think about it, where it's coming from, we can't pick it ripe. It has to be picked and then shipped, and then it has to last. I mean, it was pretty fun working in a department when, summertime would come and you got your melon trucks rolling up and you're setting your tables for the melon season, and you walk into that department and you could just smell the cantaloupes. You can smell the honeydews and the watermelons. It just got you like you knew summer was in. And then when you get into the fall, you have your fall veg and you have your apples and your squashes and things like that. And it got you excited for fall, and your parents would make soups and make, different things with those types of items. And then in strawberry season, you'd look forward to strawberry season. You'd come into that department, you could just smell the strawberries. Like, it just got you hungry. And now it's 12 months a year strawberries, 12 months a year grapes, 12 months a year melons. And I don't think any of them taste very good.
No, you're right. You're right.
Yeah, it's
my struggle is, Jeff, you're right. You go in, like, I'll have a grocery list. I'll go into a store because I have certain components of a dish I'm going to make. And there are many times that I go to the store now and I will not be able to get one or two things on the list. And sometimes it'll be a simple thing, like maybe cilantro or a cucumber. And you're right. It's like, it's not just a day. I'll go back maybe a week later to try it again. Nope, still not there. And it's very frustrating.
Yes. Well, and to Tom's point too, I love tomatoes. I love tomatoes. When I grew up, we had a garden in one of our bottom pastures that was about 3 acres, and we had all kinds of stuff there. Most of the time when you go buy tomatoes out of the grocery store, they have no flavor. There's about a month and a half towards the end of summer that the tomatoes are really good. I'm just talking about up here. I don't know what it's like in your areas, but they don't, the rest of the time you're buying these Roma tomatoes and stuff, and they have absolutely no flavor.
Mhm.
You know, you shouldn't really probably be getting corn on the cob, to your point, Tom, all year long.
It's a 4th of July product.
Yeah, and you look at it from 4th of July up to Labor Day, and then it kind of dwindles out, like that. But you get it all year long. But when you peel back the husk, the cob's this big, and there's 27 kernels on it. It's not very good. So
yeah, pollination, that's a pollination problem. The other thing that I would love to see change in the grocery store. So when I used to work in the stores, I had a store manager that was amazing. This guy, I learned so much from this guy, and he was just a worker. And basically what I get frustrated with is, so in the store that I worked, that manager was adamant at 5 o'clock, all the departments better be stocked full. The service deli better have all those chickens ready to go. In the bakery, the same thing with the hot bread and all that stuff. And you better not have any ad items out of stock. Nowadays, you go in a grocery store at Friday at 5 o'clock, I'll go on there with ad items on my list and completely gone. And that's just crazy. And it's always like this now. And I don't understand it. The bakeries are hammered. The service delis are hammered. It doesn't make sense. That's not how I was brought up in this. You at 5 o'clock, we called it fresh at 5. And the store's better been fresh, because that's when people are getting off work. They're looking for dinner ideas. Maybe they don't even have an idea for dinner, but they walk in that service deli.
No, you're right. I don't even shop in the afternoon now, because I feel like everything's going to be gone. The bread's usually gone that I want, so you almost have to go early to get the stuff you want.
Yeah.
Yeah. And this is even before COVID. This has been going on. I just can't imagine, because my store manager, if we were out of 5-pound bag navels that were on ad, he would send us down the road to the next store to buy them to put on that table, because you cannot be out of an ad item. Even if it was the warehouse that shorted us, it was not acceptable. We did not write rain checks, because it's the whole bait and switch. You bring people in with a cheap ad item, and the ad item's not there. You feel like you've been duped.
Yeah. Well, that was a good manager too.
Yeah.
That was amazing. I mean, he was amazing. He taught me things that, like you just widen it out on a product. You don't have to make it deep, just widen out and you'll sell more. And he was right 100%. So he was just, and he loved what he did. So it was contagious to all of us too at the store. We cared, and he instilled that in us. And nowadays, even now, just as a dad, wanting to cook your kids meals and stuff, you go in a grocery store, it should be a good experience to go in there and be like, yeah, I can't wait. I'm going to make this and that. And you just go in there and it's boring. It's the same old stuff. Like I said, you're seeing melons 12 months a year. Why?
Yeah.
So I hope that changes at some point. I think that's why, you got retailers kind of like Costco that's always ahead of people, because they still do it.
Yeah, they do.
Yeah.
Tom Walsh, Underwood Ranches, one more time real quick. How can people find you and find your products?
Go to underwoodranches.com. On our website, you can purchase all the products, the sauces that we make. We've got a coupon code for BBQ Nation. So 15% off, just use coupon code BBQ Nation, get the 15% off, give us a try. I think it's the only place you're going to be able to find a barbecue sauce that doesn't have any tomatoes or ketchup in it. So give our red jalapeno barbecue sauces a try and see what you think.
There we go. Tom, thank you for joining LeeAnn and I today. LeeAnn, as always, it's a delight to talk to you.
You too as well.
And I know I'm just delightful.
So, well, one thing we didn't hit on, Tom is actually an excellent cook. So yes, and he actually barbecues and smokes food. So he's in our little food world too.
Well,
the only problem is I love to cook, but then I went down to this place in Tampa and I had food down there, and I told my wife, I said, I'm not even going to cook ever again.
Yeah.
But
no, you're very creative. Well, I'm looking forward to trying your watermelon salsa that I'm hearing a lot about. So that's
you make a pork roast and I'll make the salsa. I'm telling you.
Okay, fair. That's easy.
Okay, listen, you can't leave the fat boy out of this conversation. On that.
No,
You know what I mean?
In there, but our watermelon's in season right now.
There you go. Okay, we'll be back next week with another edition of After Hours here on BBQ Nation. Again, Tom Walsh from Underwood Ranches. Check them out. Check out their their hot sauces and everything else that they have there. And LeeAnn and I will be back next week with another edition, God willing, of BBQ Nation. Take care, everybody.
Bye-bye.
But